I should have trusted my instincts when the GPS sent me down that old two-lane road, but it was late, and the highway motel I'd booked was still an hour away. I don't remember exactly when the trees began pressing in on both sides, or when the radio started picking up strange static between the stations, but by then, it felt easier to keep going than to turn around. I told myself it was just a shortcut, and maybe it was, but the further I drove, the more the world outside my headlights seemed to fold in on itself, like the blackness wasn't just night, but something denser, pressing right up against the glass. The road was narrow, cracked, and littered with fallen pine needles. My phone buzzed with a no-service warning, but I shrugged that off at first. I had the route downloaded. A thin fog clung to the ground, swirling under the beams of my headlights. Every so often, the mist would catch on a branch or a road sign, making weird shapes that vanished as quickly as they formed. I gripped the steering wheel tighter and rolled down the window a crack, hoping the night air would help keep me awake. About 15 miles in, something darted across the road. Something low and pale, gone before I could even blink. I braked hard, jolting forward, and my coffee sloshed into my lap. I sat there, engine idling, heart thumping in my throat, scanning the trees for any sign of movement. Nothing. No animal sounds, no wind, not even the soft ticking of the engine cooling. Just the faint smell of wet earth, and the distant, almost metallic tang of the fog. I waited for my breathing to return to normal, then eased back onto the gas, convincing myself it was a deer, or maybe a stray dog. A few miles later, the trees thinned, and I saw a small faded sign. Hollow Pines Rest Area, 1 mile. The name didn't ring a bell, but the thought of stretching my legs and using a real bathroom was too tempting to pass up. The highway rest stops back home always felt a little sketchy, but this place seemed so remote, I figured I'd have it to myself. When I pulled in, my headlight swept over a single picnic shelter, a vandalized vending machine, and a long, low building that looked like it hadn't seen fresh paint since the 80s. The lot was empty, except for a battered blue sedan parked at the far end, its windows fogged with condensation. I couldn't see anyone inside. I checked the time, 1:13 a.m. The building's windows were dark, except for a faint, sickly yellow glow behind the door marked restrooms. I stepped out into the chill and locked my car out of habit, though I doubted anyone was around to care. The fog felt thicker outside, heavy and damp, seeping into my clothes. I was halfway to the building when I realized the silence was total. No insects, no wind, not even the distant drone of passing cars. Just a steady crunch of gravel under my shoes and my own breath clouding the air. As I reached the door, I noticed a light flickering above me. It buzzed with a faint, irregular hum, casting long, warped shadows against the cinder block wall. The restroom smelled faintly of bleach and something else, something damp, like old leaves left to rot in a gutter. I hurried through my business, glancing uneasily at the graffiti-scrawled stalls and the cracked mirror above the sink. In the glass, my face looked stretched and tired, my eyes too wide. When I turned to leave, I heard the faint scuff of shoes. So quiet I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it. I waited, holding my breath. The sound came again, this time, a little closer, like someone shifting their weight behind one of the stalls. My fingers tingled as I forced myself to look beneath each door, one by one, trying to catch a glimpse of shoes or a shadow. Nothing. Only the damp yellowish tiles and some careless scraps of toilet paper drifting in the draft. I tried to laugh it off, but the sound got caught in my throat. Maybe it was just the pipes settling, or some animal trapped in the walls. I rinsed my hands, water shockingly cold, and scrubbed at the coffee stain on my jeans, as if that would make the air less heavy. When I moved to dry my hands, the power flickered. The hum of the fluorescent bulbs stuttered, plunging the room into momentary darkness. In that pitch black, I caught the faintest sound. Breathing. Not mine. Not quite human. Then the light returned, buzzing louder than before. I left the restroom fast, nearly tripping over the threshold. Outside, the air seemed even thicker, the fog swirling up in slow, deliberate eddies around my legs. The battered blue sedan was still there, but somehow it looked different, closer than I remembered, though I couldn't remember seeing it move. Its headlights were beaded with fog, reflecting my own awkward hunched shape back at me. I hesitated, keys tight in my palm, and considered just getting in my car and driving, but I couldn't shake the urge to look inside that sedan. Logic told me to let it be, but curiosity, or maybe just the need to prove I wasn't imagining things, pulled me forward. As I approached, I saw the driver's side window was cracked open a sliver, letting out a breath of air that smelled faintly of mildew and something sweet, almost cloying. I peered inside. The interior was empty. No bags, no stray coffee cups, nothing in the seats. Just a crumpled, damp-looking paper on the dashboard, stained with brown circles. I squinted, reading the first line. "If you're reading this, you're all ready." But the rest of the note was smeared and unreadable. My skin prickled. I stepped back, the gravel shifting under my shoes, and nearly dropped my keys when I heard a car door slam behind me. Except there was no one there. My car was just as I'd left it. I scanned the rest area, heart thudding against my ribs. The fog seemed to have thickened yet again, crawling up to obscure the tree line. For a moment it looked like shapes moved at the far edge of the lot. Tall, thin silhouettes, impossible to make out, gone as soon as I focused on them. I told myself it was just the interplay of shadow and light, the fog playing tricks on my tired brain. I dug out my phone hoping for a signal, but the screen stubbornly read, "No service." I tried restarting it, staring at the tiny spinning icon, but it refused to budge. Behind me, the light over the restroom flickered again, humming a dissonant tune I could almost mistake for a voice. I shook my head, trying to clear it, but the sensation of being watched crawled up the back of my neck. I tried the vending machine, half to distract myself, half because the ritual of buying something felt grounding. The glass was cloudy with condensation, and inside, the snacks looked ancient, labels faded, wrappers bloated. I fed it in $1, but the machine spat it back out. I tried again, and on the third attempt, the machine rumbled loudly. The selection lights blinked, and for a heartbeat, all the buttons flickered with the same flickering yellow that seeped from the restroom. My reflection peered back at me from the glass, distorted, hollow-eyed, mouth open as if I was about to scream, though I don't remember opening my mouth. The machine made a sound like something heavy shifting inside, and then spat my $1 out with a force that startled me backward. I stumbled and slammed my elbow into the corner of the machine. The sudden pain, the realness of it, snapped me out of whatever strange daze had come over me. I decided I'd enough. The urge to get back in my car, to get away from this place at any cost, was overwhelming. I half-jogged to my car, breathing in short, shallow bursts. The fog eddied hungrily around my legs as I unlocked the door, hand shaking so badly I nearly dropped the keys again. As I slid into the driver's seat and slammed the door, I felt a pulse in the air, like the moment right before a thunderclap. The silence pressed harder than ever, so thick I could hear the blood in my ears. I started the engine. The headlights swept the lot, illuminating the shelter, the vending machine, the blue sedan. The sedan's headlights were on now, though I hadn't heard the engine. No one sat in the driver's seat. At least, no one I could see. I told myself it was a trick of the light, some sensor triggering, but deep down, I knew it wasn't right. I put the car in reverse, tires crunching over the gravel, but as I turned to back up, my headlights caught something standing just beyond the edge of the lot, where the fog turned everything gray and uncertain. It was a person, or at least the shape of one. Too tall, arms hanging at their sides, face lost in shadow. Their head cocked as if listening. I blinked and they were gone, but my heart had already started hammering so hard I could barely breathe. I whipped the car around, desperate to find the exit. But the drive that led in now twisted away into the trees, in a direction that didn't look familiar. The painted lines were faded, snaking into the woods. For a horrible second, I wondered if I'd taken a wrong turn in my panic. But there was only one way in, a single narrow lane, now swallowed by the fog. I gripped the wheel and pressed the gas. Branches scraped the sides of my car, the sound sharp and deliberate, as if something was running its fingers along the paint. My headlights barely cut the fog. The radio, silent until now, crackled to life, static. Then a voice, warped and slow, speaking words I couldn't make out. I turned it off. The silence that followed felt worse, as if the car itself was holding its breath. My phone buzzed with a new notification, but the screen was just lines, broken, flickering, like a video trying to play, but stuck on the same frozen frame. My own face reflected in the dark, eyes wide and unblinking. I drove, following the road as best I could, but the trees seemed to crowd closer, the branches arching overhead like ribs. The car's clock blinked, 1:13 a.m. The same as when I'd arrived. I glanced at my watch, 1:13 a.m. My stomach dropped. I pressed harder on the gas, every muscle tense with the sense that if I stopped, something would finally reach me. The road twisted again and again, but every turn led past the same features, the same gnarled tree, the same weathered sign, the same patch of weeds eaten down to the dirt. I nearly clipped the blue sedan parked half hidden in the shadows, its headlights still burning, the windshield beaded with moisture. But that wasn't possible. I'd left it back at the rest area. I'd watched it from my own car. I slammed the brakes and sat there, panting, the windshield fog